All right, so this is lesson 8, and this is where we work on our skill of reading and writing decimals. I've kind of mentioned this in class as far as certain ways we're supposed to be saying saying our words, especially decimals, and how to read them properly. So instead of saying like 0.32, we would say 32 hundredths. So let's get into that with a bit of a warm up. All right, so we want to show this whole number, 754. So we're not going to start with a decimal, just use a regular whole number in a place value chart, in expanded form, and in word form. So place value chart, 754, it's 7 hundredths, it's 5 tens, and 4 ones. It's pretty simple. So there's nothing here in the decimal part. Let's do expanded. And expanded is basically where you take the number 754, you break it up into its different parts, just different sums of each part. 700 plus 50 plus 4. And all those together, of course, would add up to this. In word form, it's 700, 54. Now, here's something that even adults do. A lot of people see this number 754 and they'll put the word "and" there. You don't want to be doing that because that's not the proper way to say it. It's so when you start saying these words out loud, make sure there's no "and" there. So 754. All right, so let's move on to page 145. You'll see a tape measure at the top there. So Jessica reads aloud from a science website. She comes across the measurement of, well, I'm going to say it how we're not supposed to say it, 0.32 meters. But we're supposed to say that as 32 hundredths, and we'll get into why it's called that way. How should she read this measurement aloud? Explain how you know. So first thing I'll have you guys do is create, it's kind of a very simple place value chart. I'm going to create the one just for the decimals. This is your ones, your tenths, and your hundredths. And just being able to sketch a really quick place value chart is really helpful. All right, so here's our number. 0 in the ones, our decimal. We got a 3 in the tenths and a 2 in the hundredths, just like that. So how should she read this measurement aloud? So she calls it 32 hundredths. Because if you look at a decimal, and we haven't gotten into fractions yet, 32 hundredths is also written just like this, 32 over 100. So the way we say both of those, this decimal and this fraction, is 32 hundredths. And we get the name hundredths by the smallest place value here. That's where we get the name from. If we're doing fractions, we are looking at the denominator, the bottom number, to get what word we should be saying. So that's something just to keep in mind as we work more with fractions and decimals. Okay. So on the next page, and this is where I'll just reiterate that, explain how to read 32 hundredths aloud. Basically, it's 32 of the smallest decimal unit, which again is this, that's the hundredths place. That's where it's going to get its name. That's the smallest right there. Okay, let's look at 2. All right, on the previous page, you use words to say the standard form of the decimal, 32 hundredths. You can also use expanded form to break apart a decimal by place value. You can use either decimals or fractions to write the expanded form of decimals. So we'll do both. A is decimal part, B is the fractional part. So let's start with decimals. So 32 hundredths is broken up into 3/10 and 2 hundredths, just like that. And this, if you want to put a little star next to this, because this is what's going to help you with your IXL homework today. Notice that this is the tenths place and this is the hundredths place. And all you have to do is show which digit will multiply that, which would be the 3. In this case would be the 2. And that's the expanded form for your decimals. So you're just basically multiplying the digit, 3 in this case, and 2 in this other case to do that. Let's talk about fractions. So this up here, the decimal is 3/10. So as a fraction, it looks like that. And over here, this is 2 hundredths. So that's 2 over 100. And this is the same deal as before, just like the upper line. This is going to be 3 times 1/10, and this is going to be 2 times 1/100th to give us our decimal. Okay. And let's go to 3. All right, so how are the different expanded forms of 32 hundredths alike and different? Well, we'll just write it this way. One is the sum of tenths and hundredths. And they both share the fact that they're both a digit times its place value. Okay, and that kind of sums that up right there. Okay, pretty short lesson. And your homework for this one is G6, convert decimals between standard and expanded form. Again, that's where you're going to have your digit times the place value. Might take a couple to get to recognize the pattern, but it should go fairly easily. Just let me know if you need any help.